as we start, no throwing things, no weeping, no telling jokes to your neighbor unless you're prepared to stand up and tell the whole group the jokes, right? And I don't know what you're expecting today, but I realize that I don't think this has ever been done before. Is that true or not true? And it's just really, this is an opportunity to have a conversation. And you're going to, in the beginning here, I'm going to walk through a couple of slides that talk about a change process, because we've all been through a change process, right? About a year and a half ago, it all started, right? And I like to think that we're in the middle of the change process, but I don't know that for certain, because we determine where we are in a change process. And this conversation is more about giving you some information that I think is important from a lens that really was had no filter on it, really. I came completely brand new out of the dark, right? From the wild woods of Avon. And I'm going to stress, the wild woods of Avon. And I appreciated that opportunity, but you have to bear with me because I'm using new technology today. So there's an iPad here, and all I have to do is hit the screen and it moves the slides. If I have to go back, it's a whole nother process, but I'm not going to go back. There's an interesting piece of literature out there, and some of you that are closer to leadership, and this has been read by almost every Fortune 500 company corporate leader. And I'm speaking to you today in the context of you as the leader. You are the future of this agency. And this particular book has this very powerful metaphor. When leaders truly want to find out where they fit in an organization and where the pieces of an organization fit together, and here's the metaphor piece. They stand on a balcony. And I want you to picture standing on the balcony or the mezzanine level of the ACT Theater. See, I could even use a visual for us. And the organization and the members of the organization are all moving on the lower level. And what our wonderful author of Leadership on the Line calls it is obviously the dance floor. Who dances with whom? What types of dances are occurring? You know, who's speaking to whom? Who's left out? Who's included? In what order do things happen? And I've always used this metaphor. I've felt strongly about this metaphor because it's so true. When you come new as a leader, you have no idea what's happening. People expect that you do instantly. You are leaders. So periodically, I'm using this opportunity to tell you, get on the balcony. Get on the balcony so you could really see the interworkings of what's occurring. That may give you insight on how to do things differently or in a different way. Okay. Well, it leads to what's changed, leads to something called the leadership circumplex. That's a great word, isn't it? Use it for Scrabble when you all get snowed in tonight. Circumplex is based upon two related dimensions of leader behavior. It's conviction and connection. Remember, I'm talking to you as leaders, so it's conviction and connection. Conviction measures the following behaviors: the ability to provide a compelling vision. Raise your hand if you think that one person in an organization creates a vision. Very good. You passed the test. Right? So you're going to raise your hand when I say, if I say raise it if you know multiple people create a vision. Right? So now you got to exercise. Right? And if you feel really strongly, you could put up both arms. Even you too, Don. It's also the capacity to manage and lead change. Our divisions have changed. We have leaders in our divisions. So it's their ability to manage the change within the confines of their work that fall on this dance floor. So you got a visual now. We're all dancing on the floor, and we're not break dancing. The ability to grasp what is happening in this work, and this says industry because it's more from a business literature, and a commitment to understanding and serving the needs of our customer. That will never change. That's what EASTCONN has always been. That's what we will always be. Our people that we employ, they're our customers too, right? We're each other's customers. The capacity to display passion, conviction, belief, and authenticity are among the most powerful things that we need to be able to do right now. Come on in. Don't worry, sit on the floor. Bring your friends and sit on the floor. And we also must commit to continuous learning. People rely on our ability to remain current in our practice, and in a few minutes we'll talk about diversification. The ability to grasp what is happening in the industry and the commitment to meet the needs of our customer. That's part of our compelling vision. Who disagrees? Who agrees? You're such a sullen group, thank you. So what's this thing we call change? Well, it's when we have new behaviors, new practices, new beliefs, new understandings. The lights go out. The show goes on because I have battery power, so we're good. And I'll get you out of here before it's pitch dark. We may acquire new material, have new resources, and I don't just mean things that we touch. Human resources are the most significant. New viewpoints, new perspectives. But by far, any organization that you look at, and we're no different, you, the employees, are the most important resources and the leaders. That is how it works, right? And our mission is really to serve our customers' needs that are very different right now. And I'll get there in a second too. Michael Fullen, who knows Michael Fullen? I'm going to look at Diane, and I'm going to look at Eric, and I'm going to look, right? Michael Fullen, he's one of the greatest, at least in my estimation, one of the greatest writers about leadership that we know. And he's very contemporary. He's still at the University of Toronto, I believe, right? Ontario, yeah. And there's 6 secrets to change. So when you're in the middle of change, here's what he believes, and he's actually researched the effectiveness. Love your employees and recruit and retain those who love their work. I hear stories about, and I'm going to look at Larissa because I think that's where the stories come from. I recall fondly, and I'm not picking on you, it's a good story. I recall fondly being here maybe a week, and she said, we used to come in here and people were laughing and they really enjoyed their work, and I was so energized by walking in here. See, it's all about the conditions that we perform our work in. But we have to love you as our employees. And I know, oh my God, the executive director just said we have to love employees, right? It's true. It's the greatest thing you could give somebody. You connect peers with purpose. So you put like minds together. First group that pops out to me, you want to go in that technology solutions room, God bless you, because those are peers with a purpose. And they all talk the same language. Capacity building prevails. Our future rests on our ability to create internal capacity to do more. Now I'm going to add the next line that goes with that, with less. And it won't necessarily be with less. It's just the sources are going to be different. We have to learn in our work, and paramount to me is number 5, is the transparency and the rules and the processes and the systems that add an order to the organization are really important to you. And if they're not, we certainly could talk. But you want order in order to achieve the work that you're trying to do every single day. Systems thinking and learning is paramount. Now, with any change process, there's something that's called an implementation dip. That's a hell of a dip, isn't it? Right? Some of us call it the funding cliff, but that's really a cliff. Because what was and always has been, suddenly now isn't there. And you start to see new beliefs, new systems, new materials, new resources, all these things that are new suddenly come in, and it's almost like an energy draw. You say, my God, I got to step back. I'm feeling slightly overwhelmed. I don't know what's coming next. That's normal. Behaviors change before beliefs. And think about that for a minute. Behaviors change before beliefs. It's easy to change your behavior, right? But if you believe something so strongly, it's going to take a long time to impact that. The size and the prettiness of a planning document is inversely related to the quality of the action it produces. Right? That's pretty self-explanatory. I don't care what the packaging looks like. It's actually counterproductive to actually getting the real work done that you do every day. And please don't be offended by anything I'm saying, because I'm giving you my perception of where we are as an agency today. Shared visions or ownership is more of an outcome of a quality process than it is a precondition. It's the end result of a process. At various intervals, you'll see the shared vision and the ownership for things suddenly come forward. Feelings are more influential than thoughts. We know that, don't we? Right? You hurt somebody's feelings, right? That is painful. And it's more powerful than the thought process itself. The new moral purpose of any organization emerges from change. And you can see, I thought I'd impress you with my ability to find these fancy little things and stick them in here. But really, it doesn't follow any logical path. And for some folks, you know, going through a change process, they want to know everything that's going to come next. And it's very difficult to say, well, I don't know what's going to come next. You know, I do not know what will come to this agency next year. I know what I hope we could do, but I just don't know. So, you have to be change savvy. So, you carefully enter, you listen to all, and you learn from those who have been here a lot longer than you have. You do that now, right? I'm looking at Ms. Donna. Donna joins marketing and communication. What does she do? She comes in, she bakes. That's an easy way into the learning process. You engage in fact-finding and joint problem-solving. You carefully diagnose this situation that you find yourself in. You were selected to be here. You're forthright with addressing people's concerns. If the concern is uttered, you have to deal with it. If you don't, it's going to disappear. We do that now. We're responsive. We don't let things fester, because the longer it festers, the more energy it takes away from doing the real work that makes the most difference here. And that's our work with our customers. And you fill in who those customers are. I can't stress this enough. Be enthusiastic, genuine, and sincere about the changed circumstances. It's okay to talk about, oh my God, what do you mean we're doing something different? It's okay to talk about that, because then you'll find out some of the reasoning behind it. If you harbor it and you don't say anything, you only say it to your person that you always talk to, you know, your BFF. You know, you say, what, is he crazy? What do you mean? He let us go home, you know, an hour early? What's that about? He must want something, right? Organizations and individuals don't necessarily, me included, we're always thinking that something else is behind it. And it's not. It's genuine. It's being genuine and sincere. You obtain buy-in for what needs fixing. I don't like the word fixing. That needs attention. Not fixing means that it's broken. I haven't seen anything in my 36 years that's really broken. I've seen a lot of things in 36 years that need attention. And there's a lot of things in our organization that clearly needs attention. And if anybody wants to disagree with me, I'll be more than happy to sit down with you and give you the laundry list of those things and how we're working one at a time. So the new EASTCONN, what is it? The moral purpose is recognizable and understood. True or false? Okay. Thank you for jumping out there. You're on your own, right? That pregnant pause enough to kill you. It's the wait time. Remember? Teacher college, we wait time. How long do you wait? 20 minutes? No. The culture and the climate are the most important ingredients to our success. True or false? Right? Thank you. Now we're getting warmed up. Behavior of individuals towards each other is the culture. True or false? So where does change really take place? Where does climate control really take place? Bingo. Within individuals. It doesn't lie in the institutional structure. It lies in the relationships that we have. Teams are made up of individuals with focus, interest, energy, and enthusiasm. True or false? Yeah, I heard a couple say, well, I heard it over here. Well, sometimes you throw one in just because they're a wild card and you want to see them mix up the group. There's always a wild card in every group. You know that. The leader emerges, right, of the small work group, the note taker's there. And I'm looking at this group over here because I know what roles they play. Look at Scott's trying to figure out what role he's playing. The voice of the customer is the most important. True or false? In our work right now, in this agency, this is the most significant. It always has been, but it's even much more significant now. And I'll touch on it in a couple minutes. The collection of data assists to define the future work and the impact of our current work. True or false? Right. If we don't have data, how do we know where we're going next? And I know we're all dated out in education and agencies like ours, but there's enough, anecdotal data and lower level data that we could use to make some pretty good judgments about what we need to do next. Systems thinking is necessary to organize, plan, and this isn't right. You're right, Carol. It had to be changed. Planned and purposeful action. Okay, systems thinking is needed to organize an organization. True or false? Right. What happens if you don't have systems or processes? It's chaotic. Some people could work and control chaos. Just look at their desk, right? Now, Ann, don't go to the confessional.
It's me.
She raised her hand. Employees, again, are the most important resources. True or false? Right? That's a given. State revenue greatly diminished and virtually non-existent. True or false? Okay. We know that. So what's that all mean? We're staffed in a manner to respond to our customers' needs. Is that true or false? So far. Because as our customer needs change, and they will, we're going to have to do something about that. We call it staffing up, right? We're just not, you can only stretch people so far. Revenue from state grants, just so you know, is approximately 13% of our budget now. at its heyday, EASTCONN receives 75% of its funding from state grants and contracts. And I'm not going to ask you whether that's true or false, because I'm telling you that's true. So that's a challenge that we need to contend with, and there's ways to do that, and we'll talk about that very briefly in a second. Our agency is primarily a fee-for-service organization now. It's a business. It's about revenue and it's about expenditures. There's no money that's coming to us directly to do state work. We still had to do the work then, but now the paradigm has shifted because now we have to market what our program services are. We've never had to really do that, except in the past, I'll say, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, Teddy, you know? And it's going to get dramatically more competitive, so we have to turn our business hats on. Teaching and learning, and again, this is why I don't want anyone taking offense to anything here. Teaching and learning has fallen off over the years. There's a reason why. Not because of the quality of the people we have or the offerings that we provide. Our members don't have discretionary money to access the professional learning that they once did. So that was the heart of EASTCONN, at least at a certain point in time based on my research. There was a lot of activity there. And that's the most meaningful work for schools. So with regard to that, we have to strategically staff up where the needs are and then mobilize and go to them. That's different. So, you know, you're used to seeing, you know, hundreds of people in here, and I want to see hundreds because Heather's going to bring them in and we're going to have all kinds of activity. But the likelihood of that happening in the next year to 2 years, perhaps even 3 years, them coming to us is slim to none. And I'm sorry, I'm the one delivering that message. But I don't gloss over. Our magnet schools continue to be a financial challenge, not because they're not great places for learning. It's the way they were structured in our own state's inability to have a plan in place to sustain magnet schools that they passed in legislation in the future. So it's just another challenge. And we are getting somewhat creative in how we're approaching this. And we will survive. They will be institutions that people will continue to look at as being very unique and special. We have expanded divisions to advance a new business plan. And I won't get into all the detail of, you know, the new divisions and what that work is all about. We'll be talking about that. And you'll be reading about it in some of the newsletters that come out. And we, again, and this is redundant, but I said it already, we now have to market ourselves to obtain the work. That's unusual. The RESC Alliance, I believe, now is about equitable distribution. And as Teddy looks at me and says, I can't believe he's saying that, I really believe it's about equitable distribution because when we sit as 6 RESCs, yes, there's competition, but there's less tension about who's trying to take all the money. And I've used a bad example 100 times, and some of you have heard me say this. When I go to a RESC Alliance meeting, there's a contract there to talk about, a state contract. I could only equate it with having 50 starving relatives around a table. They haven't eaten for a week. And you put a rotisserie chicken from Costco in the middle of the table. Right? You can imagine the scene. That's just what it's like. And the dollar amounts are very small. So, again, dependence on state revenue for grants and projects, it's gone. You know, it's not going to get any better unless there's a special tax we have to pay and then it goes into that account. That's not a political statement at all. Just be careful when you drive down Route 6 because there's going to be a toll booth there too. Change begins with a moral purpose. I think you know what the moral purpose is. It's an integral part of the vision. It guides everything we do. It guides us. We have a moral purpose. If you don't know what that moral purpose is, then shame on me and shame on some others who should be helping me promote that moral purpose. This is about what's right for kids, and no matter what their ages are, and how do we help our members who are serving those same people. You develop a respectful culture where all of us are equals. That's what I'm asking. That's what my vision is for this agency. We're all the same. Our business cards say something different. But one of us isn't better than the other. We just have a different set of responsibilities. Value and cultivate the relationships. The power of our success to move forward from where we are today all lies in the strength of our relationships. So if you haven't spoken to someone for 5 years just because something happened, it's time to let it go. It's time to let it go, not only for yourself as an individual and the other individual involved, but let it go for the organization. Because our organizational health is going to be based on the strength of our relationships. Proactive thinking, energy, enthusiasm, and passion for the work is necessary, more necessary now than ever before. For some, again, you've heard me say this before, I liken myself to Johnny Appleseed. I carry around this bag of seeds and I drop them on the table. I'll make a statement. You have permission to chase it and run with it. I need you to hear that. Use that energy and enthusiasm that makes coming to EASTCONN exciting, because we control our destiny, really. Use that as the opportunity to run with it. Get some of your friends and say, hey, why don't we try to do this? The worst thing that could happen is it won't be successful. That's not the end of the world. You know, the greatest things were learned by failure. We have scientists who dedicate their whole life to fail. Imagine that. Having an anticipatory behavior practice is critical to our success moving forward. We have to kind of read the crystal ball. And we have to try to figure out what our customers need before they even know it. And that's really necessary for us to define our work as we go forward, because it may be too late. We won't be able to help them because we'll still be trying to tool ourselves to meet that particular need, if that makes sense. I believe in cross-division pollination. It's not a scientific concept for science teachers in the room, Mary Kay, but where cross-pollination is where you're contaminating each other with the energy and the enthusiasm to join together in these joint efforts and not do them as individual divisions. Diversity, a deeper learning is always followed by action. You know, if we spend time delving into something and really becoming experts, we don't hold that to ourselves, right? We don't put it in a bookcase. We have to do something with it. So it relates directly to action. Action for our customers, for the right reasons, because it's going to benefit children or students. I had a board chair who used to correct me all the time. I said children. He said, excuse me, Mr. Superintendent, it's students. I said, okay, Houston, have it your way. Students. We need to diversify to meet the needs of those whom we serve. And you keep hearing me say diversify, and we need to. We need to maintain a professional bucket list as individuals to maintain our motivation. There's a bucket guy in the room that, I mean, some people think he's, you know, periodically, they don't know if he's serious or not. And I don't mind. John won't be embarrassed if I said he's the bucket guy. He'll call me in the middle of the hallway, Gary, I haven't come up with a good one for you lately. How about this one? He does want a shoemobile. I'll let you talk to him about that later. The shoemobile. Okay, John? Okay. This is an Andy De Palma statement. Some of us need to get in a room together and throw things at the wall and see what sticks. That's how we're going to define where we're going. You know? The good ideas will stick. The bad ideas are going to fall right off the wall. So I know, now you're all going to go in a room and you're going to get some of that goop that the kids make right on the snow. What was it called? I think your grandchildren made them. Slime. Yeah, you're all going to make slime and throw it at the wall. But that is a very helpful process. And I can attribute that to Andy De Palma because he said, I just want to sit in a room with people and throw things at the wall and see what sticks. That's an energy and an enthusiasm to do some things a little bit differently. Can't means you won't. If you ever say to me, I can't do it, I'm translating it into you don't want to do it or you're not going to do it. Can't means you won't. Can't is not in the vocabulary. It doesn't need to be. There might be limitations, but can't, cannot is a very, very strong message. And that's not what our vision's about, at least in my estimation. We listen, process, design, develop, and implement. There are our steps. If we do that routinely, it will become automatic for us. You know, many times we'll get together and we'll do the listen, we'll process, design, develop. And then what? Something happens. Somebody else comes with another need. So then what do? Well, we're going to put that on the shelf. So we're not going to implement that. So we're going to go back and listen, process, design, develop something else. We have to finish. Finishers are the implementers. Make it happen. The worst thing that could happen is doesn't go well. Okay. We do it again. We do it a different way. And one of my favorite lines is the failure to act is worse than acting incorrectly. Think about that. The failure to act is worse than acting incorrectly. At least when you act, at least you've made a valid attempt. Right? Using the relationships that you have. You can make the call. Let's go for it. But if you don't act, you'll never know whether something will change for the positive. And I want our agency to act. Be active. We are, but we have to even become more active in the coming days. Here are the alarming facts. EASTCONN ranks 6th among the Connecticut RESCs for generating revenue. I told you about this before. We get state aid in the form of grants and contracts, total 13%, used to be 75. Our non-discretionary costs equal about 88% of our operating budget. Our personnel expenses have outpaced our revenue funds by 4 times. Our health insurance renewal rate is estimated to go up anywhere between 11 and 18%. Who knows what that's going to be? Not all divisions are generating the revenue to support their expenses for a variety of different reasons. Lack of available work, and a host of other things. School districts not having the money and calling upon us, trying to do it a different way with somebody else. We'll be receiving less funding from state sources, namely magnet school tuitions. Forget it. We won't even see the number we saw last year because he's already announced slash and burn. But I have to tell you, politically, I'm a little concerned because the charter schools yet again get an increase at the expense of public education in the magnet schools that the legislature put in place. So yeah, I'm a little passionate about that one, just a bit. we're experiencing unsustainable turnover rates in some employee groups. And we're studying that. What's that about? And I can tell you reasonably, a reasonably confident way that it's not about wage. It's not about wage. But we'll share more of that as we obtain that information. And we've already put some things in place to counter that turnover. The observable efforts to search out and secure new business are absent. At least they're absent from my lens. And I don't know what that means, other than, do we know where to go look for the new business? How can I help that process? We're running out of places to go? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. You know, I'm looking at Revit, and I'm thinking of the grant you and your team got for Massachusetts. So we have no boundary. You know, our state boundaries are not our boundaries. We do have some boundaries that's embedded in the RESC Alliance, but those we'll talk about at some other point. Some don't believe the facts that are printed on the slides that I'm reading from. Everyone in the agency has the license to innovate and create new programs, and I'm going to reiterate that. I need you to do that. In order to create the true new EASTCONN, this is what we need to do. You have that autonomy and permission to go create. As long as it's not something wild like a bucking bronco in the middle of the parking lot with no pads, you could put the pads around it and we might go for it. I depend on you to do this very thing. We'll need a well-organized marketing campaign to develop this new business slant where we're diversifying our business. We need to be a presence in this region and beyond. We always have been, but we have to be a different kind of presence now. We actually have to be a business presence, which is a little bit different than just having a service presence. So yes, we have to infiltrate the chambers. You know, we had a lovely event, the Chamber of Commerce, right? Came here. They loved it. They didn't have a clue what we do. Many of them were never even in the building. They didn't even know what EASTCONN was. And these are people in the, what was it, the Northeast Chamber? So that's where we have to market ourselves. We need to be the presence. Apollo 13, you heard it before, failure is not an option. It's not an option for us. We need to sustain because people need us. Thousands of children need us. And they count on this institution to support the schools that they're in. And I look at Diane and her people, and you know, those are the youngest citizens, and the numbers have exploded. They need us. So failure is not in our vocabulary. Collectively, we have the strength to overcome the challenges of today. So what's it all mean? I want you to think big without the constraint of a box. Did you ever hear that saying? I think I'm going to think out of the box today. That's great out of the box thinking. I want you to forget about the box. You don't have one. You don't have the parameters of a box. So please, think big. Be confident that the desired results will be achieved. Go into it head first saying it's going to be a success. And 90% of the time it's going to be. Ask for the supports when you need them. We're going to mobilize them. Motivate others to join the innovative thinking when you're developing the action. Don't let it be just you that's having fun. Grab 2 or 3 of your friends. And I know that you all have a lot of work. Your days are full. And you're trying to find that extra time just to, you know, who knows, run down the hall. But drag some other people in. Just remember it's 90% planning and 10% execution. Executing a new program is the easy part. It's the planning for the change that takes the most amount of time. And we're still together as an agency, we're still in the 90% planning stage. See? Can't change overnight. And I'm not suggesting that the whole thing needs to change, but there's certain elements that my hope is that you've seen the changes and appreciate and respect that the changes have been implemented. And I don't ever ask you to talk to me about those unless you really want to tell me. Take care of each other as we innovate and diversify what we now know to be EASTCONN Central instead of the mothership. Notice I stressed on a certain word. Some people took that in the New York vernacular, I could tell, just by the chuckling. Stay true to our moral purpose and our culture. Disagreement leads to very high quality solutions. There's no need to seek permission. Here is the message that I want to leave with you. There's no need to seek permission to explore and create. This is in your hands. Every one of you. Yep, let us know how we could help, but it's in your hands. And there are no limits on that. Assignments will not be dictated. Michael Fullen said you can't mandate change. This executive director will not mandate change, will not provide a directive to you. I will work with you as a unit and as a team. But when you have to resort to providing mandates and dictating things to happen and when they have to be done, you've lost control of an organization. It's no longer an organization. It's a bunch of people that listen to somebody who's dictating, right? Or providing the direction or the mandate. And no human being has the intellectual capacity to even be able to do that at a 50% level. Know everything, when it needs to happen, and how it should happen. Seeds of innovation are being planted. This is a Johnny Appleseed line, okay? Run with them. You have all the freedom to run with them. Have kids run with them. Some of the greatest things have come out of students. God forbid we ask them, right? We do here. What has always been EASTCONN is not enough for us to sustain into the future. I just need to say that openly. It's just not enough. It was great for that period of time, but we're in a whole different era. And diversification of our work is so essential to our agency's survival. And that's a pretty powerful word to put at the end, survival. You know, do I think we're going anywhere? No. I do think that if we don't engage and, you know, continue to create those and foster those positive relationships and generate new ideas, I think we're going to be in a very difficult place. So that's why we're having the conversation now. Some examples of a diversification include all the things that are listed there. These are all relatively new. And I won't read this list to you. This whole presentation we posted on the intranet, so you could go look at it. If you suffer from insomnia tonight and you really want to hear me talk more and more and more, you'll certainly be able to watch the video. But we're in the process of looking at other things that we could do to expand the reach of the agency. What other groups can we serve? You know, and serve well. So with that, I thank you for your taking some time to listen to this, what I believe is the state of the agency. And I want to leave you with the very simple words, it's all in your hands. I'm part of the your, obviously, but it's in our hands. We could create that. Not every organization could say that. We don't have a State Department of Education that's dictating to us. They've abandoned us. We don't have a corporate board that's saying, you know, you better hit this quota or there's going to be, you know, who knows, reductions. We don't have that. We don't have those constraints. So we have this wild ability to be creative. And I know many people are tired because you work hard, because the work is hard. And my hope is that as we add some new dimensions, we're able to add new people to help us with those new dimensions without throwing out all the good that is here. because, you know, from my estimation, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I can tell you that. There are some other places that, you know, similar organizations that I would not want to be. So I'll be more than happy to answer questions if you have any. You know, just fire away. And but I just appreciate that you spent some time, and I hope you found the message to be at least compelling, if not thought-provoking. It is about change. We're in the middle of it. We've survived the implementation dip, like what's coming next. Now we're in that place where we could create and innovate, and that's my hope. So.